Good morning, Happy New Year, and welcome to the home of Unitarian Universalism in Central Washington. My name is Jocelyn Coomer, and I'm chair of your finance team. I'm also the celebrant for today's service. If you are a visitor this morning, we are so glad you're here. This morning, we welcome every person of goodwill, just as you are. However you get around, whomever you love, whatever body you inhabit, whatever your age, you are welcome here. We invite everyone to join us for our virtual coffee hour in this same Zoom room right after service. If you have questions about our congregation or Unitarian Universalism in general, please feel free to ask them in our virtual coffee hour groups. The order of service is available in the chat section. One thing about this service, to fully participate, it will be good to have with you 2 candles and some matches. One will serve as your chalice and the other will be for a further purpose near the end of the service. And you'll have some moments to gather those items in just a bit. It will also be good to have 1 or more small pieces of paper with you on which you can make a few notes and a safe place to burn, yes, incinerate your notes at the appropriate time in the service. Before we take a moment to gather those items, there are 2 announcements. The first is on January 16th, immediately following the service, the transitions team will share 2 videos to help us understand the present part of our process. Please save the date. Again, that's January 16th, immediately following the service. The second announcement is that the affinity groups and adult religious exploration is getting underway. We will be meeting on Wednesday evenings starting January 12th. Please check your email for offerings. And now we will take 30 seconds or a minute to pause and allow you to gather a candle, a little bits of paper, matches, and a safe receptacle for burning the paper. Okay. So it is important to take some time every Sunday to acknowledge the story of the land our congregation sits on. We gather on the homeland of the Pasquosa, where they lived for generations upon generations as stewards of this land. The Pasquosa people still live here. For over 2 centuries, the United States government has broken its 1855 and 1893 agreements with the Pasquosa. The government stole the land ceded to the Pasquosa through fraudulent surveys, indifference, and intentional violations, and by land transfers to colonists and corporations. The Pasquosa continue their traditions and seek to have all their rights recognized.
Good morning. My name is Larry Tobiska, and I'm your worship leader for this morning. Let us turn inward now. Feel the rhythm of the breath, in and out, in and out. Find the peace of just being with the flow of the breath. Letting go of yesterday and tomorrow. Feel the restorative power of the peace of this moment. A peace large enough to open to the concerns and sorrows that trouble us. A stillness quiet enough to respond to the joys and celebrations that enliven us. There is safety here in the rhythm of the breath. The ebb and flow of life is enacted with each one. Please join me in meditation. Spirit of life and love, may each of us find the ability to celebrate the joys we have been given. May we find comfort when we're carrying the weight of our sorrows. Most importantly, may we reach out to the community that surrounds us today to receive and give comfort or celebration. We are grateful for the love that surrounds us and the community we have built. May it be so. Now, please join Penny and me on mute in singing our opening hymn, I Am That Great and Fiery Force.
I thought you might be interested in the background of this. The words to this hymn are written by Hildegard of Bingen, who lived in the 12th century in Germany. She was a Benedictine abbess, a writer, composer, excuse me, poet, philosopher, mystic, and visionary, and many consider her the founder of German natural history.
I am that great and fiery force, sparkling in everything that lives, in shining of the river's course, in greening grass that glory gives. I shine in glitter on the seas, in burning sun, in moon and stars, in unseen wind, in verdant trees. I breathe within both near and far. And where I breathe there is no death, and meadows glow with beauties ripe. I am in all the Spirit's breath, the thundered word bore, I am life.
If you have your chalice with you, please join me now in lighting it. If you don't have a candle, you can always cup your hands to make a chalice. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek and seek to share.
Little tree, Written and illustrated by Lauren Long. Once there was a little tree filled with little leaves, who was surrounded by other little trees who had little leaves of their own. In the heat of long summer days, Little Tree's leaves kept him cool. The squirrels would climb up on his branches to play. The mourning dove landed in him and sang her fluty song. The little tree was sure to grow up big and strong. Autumn arrived and cool winds filled the air. The wind tickled the little tree as it passed through his branches and ruffled his leaves. The air grew cold and the leaves on all of the trees changed color, becoming yellow, red, and orange. Then, one by one, the trees began to drop their leaves. But not Little Tree. He just hugged his leaves tight. "Hello, Little Tree," said a squirrel. "You're supposed to drop your leaves now." But Little Tree was unsure. What would he do without his leaves? Winter came. "What are you doing with leaves still on you?" asked the doe. Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. Springtime arrived and the little forest burst into life again. The other trees grew bright new leaves. The squirrels played in their branches. Little Tree could hear the mourning dove singing her fluty song. The seasons continued to come and go. "Little Tree," quacked a duckling, "your leaves are brown. Are you feeling sick?" A fox said, "Little Tree, it's autumn. It's time for you to drop your leaves. You can do it. Ready? 1, 2. But Little Tree just hugged his leaves tight. All around the forest grew and grew. One summer, Little Tree could no longer feel the sunlight. The squirrels played high above on the broad, tall trees, and the mourning dove sang so far away that he could hardly hear her fluty song. Autumn came again. Leaves began to blanket the ground. Little Tree looked up at the other trees, at their branches reaching high into the sky. He remembered when the trees had all been his size. And then he let go. As his last leaf floated to the ground, for the first time, Little Tree felt the harsh cold of winter. But in time, something happened. Once there was a little tree.
The offertory is an ancient element of worship. The act of giving regardless of amount is a spiritual practice that expresses our thankfulness and generosity. We live these values and abundance, joyfully sharing our gifts and strengths in service to the greater good is one way we create beloved community. Thank you to all of you who are donating and continuing to pay your pledges in the usual time.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Together we share, and from this we live.
For the wisdom from our sources, Unitarian Universalists draw wisdom and inspiration from many sources, including science and the world's religions. Today's theme is about forgiveness and letting go. Letting go takes many forms, but the result is usually more peace. Letting go can be psychological, as in forgiveness, or material, as in giving away possessions no longer needed. It can be a quick choice to shift one's awareness or a longer process of healing. Whatever form it takes and whatever way we get there, I believe there is usually a degree of choice and action involved that result in a gift we give ourselves of peace and healing. And I have a reading called To Let Go from an anonymous source. To let go is not to stop caring. It's recognizing that I can't do it for someone else. To let go is not to cut myself off. It's realizing I can't control another. To let go is not to enable, but to allow learning from natural consequences. To let go is not a fight to fight powerlessness, but to accept that the outcome is not in my hands. To let go is not to try to change or blame others. It's to make the most of myself. To let go is not to care for, it's to care about. To let go is not to fix, it is to be supportive. To let go is not to judge, it's to allow another to be a human being. To let go is not to try to arrange outcomes, but to allow others to affect their own destinies. To let go is not to be protective. It's to permit another to face their own reality. To let go is not to regulate anyone, but to strive to become what I dream I can be. To let go is not to fear less, it's to love more.
At the winter solstice service on December 17th, Lynn Madsen spoke eloquently, as usual, about cycles of life and death. One of the cycles we've celebrated here at CUF has been this observance called a fire communion. I want to express my gratitude to Deb Miller, who has conducted this service more than anyone else I know in the past. She's shared materials from those services with me to help me prepare to lead this service today. On an annual basis, this service has helped us identify circumstances we are ready to release and put behind us so that we can better move into the future. This service comes at a truly serendipitous time because we here in this fellowship are in transition again, and our transition team, under the leadership of our transitional minister, Reverend Elizabeth Soley, has just completed its study of the history of this fellowship. In this study, the team identified several key happenings which have contributed to the makeup of who we are now. These understandings will help us see ourselves as we are and prepare to go into the future. So much of what we have been is positive and good. Some of our experiences have been troubling. I'm not going to repeat what has been identified and stated by Reverend Soley on behalf of the transition team, but I call on you to think about what they found, and further for you to think about what you remember from the past that may be troubling or concerning to you about CUF, and then to prepare to let it go, to release it. You may want to write it down on a small slip of paper and hold on to it for now. We will come back to it later in the service. On an institutional basis in this fellowship, we have something we can celebrate putting behind us. And we can do this with fire, as we will soon do with other personal matters. The institutional matter to which I refer is the debt owed on the north lot, which we recently decided to pay off, and we did so. Our mortgage has been satisfied and we are free of this obligation. So to commemorate putting this behind us, Leroy Farmer, president of the Board of Trustees, is going to burn the paper evidencing the debt. Leroy, would you please go ahead and do so with whatever words you think are fitting?
So first, where are we here? So that's the paper. And yeah, before I ritually burn it, I'd like to thank everyone for the continued support of CUF. Since 1993, Your ongoing support allowed us to purchase the original lot, Sanctuary and Blue House, which were paid off in 2010. In 2009, we had the chance to purchase the North Lot, and with your generous support, we paid it off last month, as Larry referred to. Each step has taken us closer to the dream of establishing a permanent home for our liberal values in Wenatchee Valley. We have a lot to be proud of going into 2022, so keep up the good work.
This morning, we pause on the edge of a new year,
Gotta burn.
pausing while Leroy burns.
There it goes.
All right.
If you're worried, I'll just toss this over in the recycle bin here when I'm done. So,
Oh yeah, that's great, Leroy. We don't want to hear any sirens.
okay. There she goes.
Yay.
Indeed. So this morning, we do pause on the edge of a new year, a time to reflect. Like Janus, the god for whom January was named, we glance back through our memories of the joys and sorrows that have touched our lives in this past year. That which is past can guide us toward hope for what is yet to be. This time of the year gives us a chance to assess what in our lives needs transforming. As we come to the opening of 2022, each with a different life experience that formed our journey of this past year, let us take a moment to think about events from the past year that we would like to move past, to put behind us, to let go. What disappointments, missed opportunities, losses, failures, or unwelcome burdens remain for you at the close of this year? Are there things you said or that you wish you hadn't said or done? Are there things you didn't say or do that you wish you had? Things you want to let go? Much has been said by others about how life is a journey filled with challenges, obstacles, and problems. Sometimes we successfully navigate these difficulties. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we experience grace around our failures. Sometimes we experience consequences. Certainly, we're not the first nor the last to fail in meeting such problems. But it is we as individuals and as groups, such as this fellowship, who must learn from the failures or be destined to repeat them over and over again. When I was much younger, I relied on a traditional Christian concept of self-forgiveness. That is, that after I did something I felt was wrong, I prayed for God to forgive me. And I experienced a state I will call of sweet forgiveness. So everything was all right. Problem was that everything was not all right. Nothing had changed. And I found I was in a sort of syndrome of wrongful act, guilty feelings, prayer, and sweet forgiveness. At length, I realized that something in my behavior actually needed to change. And I could not depend on another, even my concept of God at the time, to bring that about. I had to do it myself. As to the past inappropriate conduct, well, I had to let it go. It was past. Easy to say, but not always so easy to do, right? One concept that I find helpful is that embodied in the statement by Lily Tomlin. Forgiveness is giving up all hope of a better past. So there's self-forgiveness, and then there's the problem of forgiveness of others. How many of us have experienced hurtful behavior done by others? Perhaps it was something really bad that was done to us long ago, such as child abuse or neglect or assaultive behavior. Perhaps it was something someone said or failed to say that had an impact on us. It may have been intended to be hurtful, or maybe it was just the failure of another to consider our feelings. When we carry anger or desire to get even, or even when we just return to that sense of hurt, it's our burden. Forgiveness is about letting that go, shifting our thoughts and feelings into the present and towards the future. Part of the fire communion in which you are now participating is to identify these circumstances you need to let go and to release them. The Reverend Robert Hardy, a senior minister at the All Souls Church, said the following: many of us make New Year's resolutions for the upcoming year. It's an opportunity for us to express our often latent but ever-present desire to be changed, to be transformed. The new year gives us a chance to assess what in our lives is in need of transformation, what needs a fresh start. And though our resolutions can sometimes be trivial, this desire for transformation is not trivial. Indeed, it is one of the most profound religious desires we possess. And so as we begin the new year, let us focus our hearts on transformation. At this time, I invite you to write down on a small slip of paper any matter we have described today that has the potential of carrying forward as a burden to you that you can just release, to let go. You can choose not to carry this thing forward as a burden. Now, while Kathy Lau provides us with her beautiful cello music, if you have a safe place to do this, light the slip or slips of paper on which you've identified what you are forever releasing and drop it into a metal or ceramic container to turn into nothing but ashes. Ashes of the past that will no longer be a burden to you. Thank you, Kathy. There is a danger, I suppose, that this service might be seen only in a negative light. That would be a mistake. What we've been doing is looking toward the past with the goal of releasing that which may burden us. As with the fellowship transition team, we're now better prepared to look at the present and think about the future. The transition team has identified some dominant positive themes that characterize our fellowship. One of these is the strong sense of community that exists among us. Even during this limiting time with the COVID pandemic, the team will be working now to really look at the present circumstances. I'm not a member of the team, but I can see clearly that we continue to be strong and resilient with many good leaders, workers, and companions. We are employing modern technology to maintain and build our sense of community and improve our weekly services and interpersonal connections. This fellowship is a beacon of liberal thought. It serves as a light in the dark, stormy night of a society in conflict. We bring ourselves together as free-thinking, caring individuals, not encumbered by a dogma, for the benefit of each other and our greater community. Our fellowship is the manifestation of our desire and expectation for social action and growth in service to one another and to those outside of this fellowship as well. You probably are able to identify other characteristics of CUF that give you hope for the future. And what about yourself? Take a look at your own individual characteristics that give you personally hope for the future. So now I ask you to light your second candle as a beacon of the hope you have for your personal growth, as well as the future of this fellowship. Once again, Penny and I will lead singing of a song that I hope you join in with. The words will appear on your screen. We'll build a land. We'll build a land where we bind up the broken. We'll build a land where the captives go free, where the oil of gladness dissolves all mourning. Oh, we'll build a promised land that can be. Come, build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. Come, build a land where the mantles of praises resound from the spirits once faint and once weak, where like oaks of righteousness stand her people. Oh, come build the land, my people we seek. Come build a land where sisters and brothers, anointed by God, may then create peace, where justice shall roll down like waters, and peace like an ever-flowing stream. As we go from this service to be fully present with ourselves and each other, let us retain what we have learned from our past experiences and release forever any emotional burden and limitation we may have carried. With open eyes and gratitude, let us appreciate fully our present circumstances as we move towards a future that will need all the resources we can bring to it. Now, let's all join in our traditional song, Carry the Flame. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again. Carry the flame of peace and love
Flame of
until
peace and
we
love
meet
until we
again.
meet again.